Hello and welcome back, everybody. I want to talk a little bit now about a little bit more about graphing in general, but particularly I want to talk about slope for a few minutes. Okay? And so if you'll notice, I've got a couple of notes on the board already. If you'll take these notes down, that would be helpful to you. If you need to pause the video to take the notes down, please feel free to do that. But I want to tell you a few things about slope as we go. Slope, generally speaking, is the slant of a line. The slant of a line. That's what we mean by slope from a general perspective. We'll become a little more specific in a few minutes and talk about how we can quantify a slope, or how we can assign a number to a slope so we can know specifically what a slope is. But generally speaking, we're looking at how a line slants. All right? And when we look at that, we want to look at how a line slants as we look at it from the left to the right. So as we look at this particular graph with the x-axis, y-axis here, and we see this line that's drawn on it, as we look at this line moving from left to right, we notice that the line is going uphill. Okay? I want you to notice this is uphill from a left to right standpoint. Now, lines that go uphill from left to right standpoint are simply known as positive slopes. In a few minutes, we'll assign numbers to the slope. We'll give it a value for the slope, and it'll always be a positive number for a slope that goes uphill. Remember, slopes that go uphill always have a positive slope, a positive number for their slope. Okay, and then so we come over here and we take a look at this next graph, and we have a line on it, and you'll notice as we look at this line from left to right, and as we come down, notice I said the word down, so this is actually a downhill slope, which makes that a negative slope. So when we look at this line, and as we notice what it does, going from its left to its right, it goes downhill. And so this is a negative slope, and a line like this that goes downhill left to right certainly will have a negative number for its slope. Let me give you two more examples of slope that I want to mention to you very quickly. First of all, we have sometimes, you see, lines that really don't slant. They don't slant at all. These lines are flat. They're flat lines, okay? No slant from left to right. They're just flat. That means we have a zero slope. It's not positive. It's not negative. It's simply a zero slope when it's a horizontal flat line going across. And so we'll show you one more. We've shown uphill slopes, positive numbers. We've shown downhill slopes, negative numbers. Now we've shown flat. So let's show one more example here. This time, let's draw our graph, and let's take a look at a slope that is a vertical line. It's a vertical line straight up and down the graph. Okay, it's a vertical line. Now this is known as an undefined slope. Okay, so generally speaking, we have four ways we can express slope. We have the uphill slopes are positive, the downhill slopes are negative, the flat lines have a zero slope, and of course a straight up and down line would have an undefined slope. Okay? So that's some general things. Let's talk and become more specific for a second and talk about slopes in terms of a specific numerical value and tell you how we come up with that specific numerical value as we talk about a slope. And so I'm going to put a quick makeshift graph on the board to illustrate my point. And I'm going to put some points on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we've got our X and Y axis. We've got our graph. Let's plot a couple of points. I want to plot the point, let's say 1, 3. Okay, that's my X value, that's my Y value, and then I want to plot the point 4 comma 5. Okay, so I'm going to plot those 2 points, 1 comma 3, 1, and then 1, 2, 3. Here's 1 comma 3, and 4 comma 5. This time on the x-axis we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the y-axis we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we're looking at about here. So this, guys, is our line. All right, so notice we have an uphill slope, a positive slope is what we're expecting. I just want to talk to you for a second about the specific slope that this is. Now, a way that we talk about slopes very specifically is when we say the slope of a line is the line's rise over its run. Now, another thing I like to say about slope, as we look at that, really slope specifically is how we move from one point on a graph to another point. In other words, what I want to talk about is, guys, how do we get from this point on the graph over to this point on the graph? What do we do to get from here to here? Not looking at that we just go straight up the line here, but what do we do to move from here to here? And this, remember, this point right here is 1 comma 3, and this point right here is 4 comma 5. How do we go from one to the other? Well, we can look at that in terms of rise and run. Essentially what's happening here, guys, is we're going to start at this point and we're going to run. This is my run. We're going to run over from the point on the line over to get lined up directly underneath the next point. Okay, that's my run. Now, to do that, starting here, I had to run over 1, 2, 3 spaces. So we would do a run of 3. Now, when we did our run of 3, then we had to rise up to the next point, and we rose from here to here, 1, 2. Okay, so we have a rise of 2. And so the specific slope of this line, if we look at slope as rise over run, we have a run of 3, and we have a rise of 2. So specifically, guys, the slope of this line is 2/3. And we like to express slope as a fraction. Now, it can be a whole number for sure. We just take the whole number and put it over 1. For example, if we had a line that had a slope, let's say, of 5, if the slope was 5, then we would write that as 5 over 1 to let us know that the rise is 5 and the run is 1. Okay? So I kind of really like to express slope in terms of a fraction, so you can see what happens here. I want to give you a quick one to work on, if you would. I want to ask you to do me a quick little favor here with a problem. I want you to count the slope on this problem. Draw this out, work through it, and see what happens. Now, this one's going to have a little bit of a wrinkle in it that's maybe a little different than what we talked about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so let's pick a couple of points. How about we go with the point 2 comma 2? No, we'll go 2 comma 3. All right, 2 comma 3, and then we go with the, okay, so I'm going to put that point here as, let's say, 2 comma 3. That's my first point. My second point I'm going to make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to make it 6 comma 1. And we've got 6 comma 1 here. So my 2 points, remember my x and my y values were 2, 3, right? And the other was 6, 1. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, looking at this line, I'm going to ask you, if you would, pause the video, count the slope, and tell me the rise and the run. Come right back when you're done, and we'll look at this. So pause and go to work. And welcome back, everybody. Let's take a quick look at this example problem that we have to check the slope of this particular line by counting the slope. Remember, slope is how we get from this point on the line to this point. Now, in this particular line, we're going to first run to get... Sorry, I lost my light right there for a second in the room. Hopefully everybody's still with me. But in this particular problem, again, we're going to run to get lined up over this one. I'm going to relabel that as 6, 1 right there. So I'm going to run over. Now, notice how far I ran over. I ran over 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces. Let's count them to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. I ran over 4 spaces. So that's run 4. All right, to get lined up directly over it. Now I'm going to drop, okay, or do a negative rise. So I'm going to have a rise here of, and I'm dropping down 1, 2, rise of negative 2. All right, so we've got a run of 4 and a rise of negative 2. So remember, slope equals rise over run. And so this slope had, again, a rise of a rise of negative 2, a run of 4, so our slope is negative 1/2. Okay? I hope you were able to get that one. It had a negative slope. It's a downhill, but that's how we would count slope. All right, guys, next time we get together in just a little bit, we're going to talk about how to determine a slope without having to count or draw the graph. I'll see you then.